Welcome back to Coffee Talk, where we explore real stories of how people build careers, are building community, and finding meaning along the way. Today, we're talking about something that is deeply human, our purpose. The search for purpose drives countless books, leadership journeys, career pivots, and sometimes entire reinventions of who we are. It's that little voice that asks, is this what I'm meant to be doing? The truth is, purpose rarely arrives all at once. More often, it reveals itself over time through our mentors, through our detours, and through moments when something just feels right. My guest for this episode is Sam Bush. Many of you know Sam as a marketing leader in the Microsoft ecosystem, the host of Ambush on Air, a global speaker, and someone who has built a reputation for helping others grow through education and through mentorship. But what's so fascinating about Sam's story that will resonate with so many of you is that purpose didn't show up in a single moment. It unfolded over time. From her early mentors who challenged her to stepping onto stages and realizing that teaching lit a fire in her, to seasons of career misalignment that forced her to ask bigger questions about the work she was meant to do. In this episode, we talk about discovering purpose, recognizing when something isn't aligned anymore, and what it looks like to live your purpose in the work that you do every day. If you've ever wondered whether you're living in your purpose or you're still searching for it, this conversation is for you. Sam
Hi.
Bush, hello,
How are
my
you?
friend. I can't believe we're finally doing this. You're finally on my show.
I know.
Um, I've done, I'll call it an ambush and a half,
Yeah, I
right?
would say and a half. Yeah.
Because we did a full episode with Khaled, and then
Yep.
we did a little episode at
A little short.
Convergence. Yeah. So I've done an episode and a half with you, but welcome to Coffee Talk.
Thank you.
We are talking about something today that, how many books have been written about this topic? I
Hundreds.
actually asked my AI how many
Ooh.
books have been written on the topic of purpose, and it just spun and spun and spun and came back with too many to name. So,
Yes.
right? Like it is the topic that we as humans are always looking to find our purpose,
Yeah.
and who I don't know anybody better to come on and talk about purpose than
Thank you.
you, because you are living it, you're doing it, you are an example of it.
Thank you.
So we're going to go back. We're going to talk about
Hmm.
childhood Sam
Yep.
all the way up to where you are now. So tell us right now, where are you? What are you doing in the
Yep.
channel?
Yep. So I am the chief marketing officer at Duop. We're an AP automation company focused on the finance space. And then I am the podcast host of Ambush on Air, where I bring on sales, marketing, and partnerships leaders in the space, or people who have kind of an alternative opinion or alternative facts to building strategies. And then I have the pleasure of mentoring a couple people in the channel who are looking to really grow and elevate and find ways to get plugged in. And then I also do a lot of speaking sessions. I do a lot of education sessions. I did 27 last year,
Wow.
which is the record. I'm trying to do way less this year instead of beat my record. I want to be more intentional with what I'm subscribing to educate on and train on, but also share my lived experiences on. So that's what I'm up to these days. And if I'm not doing that, I'm reading a book.
I mean, I always say this bookshelf behind me is full of the books that I've read, and I've got stacks all around me of the ones that I'm diving into.
Same,
So
always.
a lot of people that are listening will know you as speaker,
Yep.
as educator, as mentor in the Microsoft ecosystem. You are everywhere. You are a trusted voice of
Thank you.
marketing, of ABM specifically, of AI. You were talking about how to practically use AI, I
Yeah.
would say before anybody else was really.
Thank you.
So prompting, like you really helped all of us to get to be more comfortable with what we were doing as we were jumping in.
Yeah.
So before we get into the purpose and the things that you're doing now, I want to ground your story just a little bit. So tell us about your journey.
Uh-huh.
We're going to go with how did teaching, learning, mentoring start to become
Yeah.
part of what you're doing today?
I've got kind of like a crazy path that makes a lot of sense to me now, but during it all felt really unrelatable, or unrelated to each other. But about I was a couple months ago, I was having lunch with my dad and I just asked him, "Did you ever see this as what I would be doing with my life? Like traveling the country in education and working full time as a marketer and working for myself at one point and really standing in my power of what I know I'm good at and what I know I have to share with the world." And he kind of laughed and he's like, "Yeah, kind of I did." He said it manifested differently than I assumed, but I knew you'd always be someone who was gonna be a kind of trainer, teacher of some kind. He said, like, growing up and I remember it vividly too, even how I operate now, like, instead of just doing something, I feel like I have to understand the process and the why and the how and how I got
Mm,
there. Like, I'm very much
yes.
instead of just saying, "Go do this thing," instead I'm saying, "Go do this thing, and if you need help, here are the 50 steps to do it." And if I don't know those 50 steps, I'm gonna go find somebody who does and gain that from them and give back what I can, obviously. But I've always been one who really wants to understand the root of something before I just go do it. I don't know if that comes across publicly because I think you guys get the off the cuff me often. But there is a side of me that is pretty strong that needs the rationale and to really understand the full scope of something.
Yeah, and I echo that. 10, 15 years ago, I was teaching on-site lunch and learns for
Mhm.
how to create a digital marketing strategy. And I
Yeah.
had gotten my hands on a book by an unknown author at the time and started incorporating this book into
Mhm.
my lunch and learns on how to create a brand, how to create a
Yeah.
personal brand, and understand who you are. And that book is Know Your Why by Simon Sinek. At
Funny.
the time, no one knew who Simon Sinek. Now everybody knows who he is,
Everywhere.
right?
Mhm.
But I read that book and it impacted me so deeply that I started every lunch and learn session with talking about that circle
Yeah.
and digging in and understanding your why before you even start
Mhm.
putting strategy around how you're
Yeah.
getting out there and presenting in the world. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's something that you and I definitely share. I always ask with any campaign that launches, with any vertical that we go into, I always say, but why are we doing that? And
Mhm.
what do we want to accomplish? It has to be more than just generating revenue, but why? And
Yeah.
how are we doing? So,
Yeah,
um,
there's this, like, natural curiosity in my
yeah,
life, and I know we share that, that's just, like, you gotta understand all the moving parts before we start the train, to
yeah,
say.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you talk a lot about mentorship, um,
Mhm.
all the time, and you've talked
Yeah.
about a mentor that encouraged you very early on in your career. What impact did that have on how you're showing up for others right now?
Yeah. A lot of people know this, like, full story. I'll give a snippet and then happy to chat offline about it. I took a role as a content marketing manager about 10 years ago, in the Microsoft space, also in a couple of different ecosystems. And through a series of crazy, our director of marketing left and the position was open. And I thought it would be a great idea to put together my plan of how I could have the job and do it well. Went into the CEO's office, presented the plan, and he said no. Uh, he was like, "Let me think about it," and then kept interviewing people, and this was back in the day when we went into an office. So I had to
Yeah,
watch these people come in and interview for the job that I thought I was qualified for, that he was like, I don't know about it." Um, then circle to a couple weeks later, we go to my very first event. It's me and my friend Steve, who ran partnerships at the time. And this guy, Bill, the CEO, looks me in the eye and he's like, "The two of you will meet everyone here. He's like, "If you wanna be a part of this community, you need to know the people that I'm gonna introduce you to, and I want you to remember them, and we're gonna talk about them at the end."
Yeah.
Um, about day and a half into the thing, he pulls me aside and he's like, "You can have the job, but I will help you." Um, he was like, "You have some of the skills, but you're missing a lot of the soft skills,
Yeah.
right? Of being a leader and being, you know, responsible for P&L and for budget and all of that." Um, so he really saw my initiative and helped me figure out how to put it all together because I think something that we talked about a little bit earlier was I like to know, all the moving parts. And at the time, I didn't even know what they were, right? I thought I already had them. And he looked at me and said, "You have these, but not these, and we're going to learn these." So he helped me peel back my own naivete on really what it meant to be the director of marketing for a SaaS company in the 2010s.
Yeah.
And he had the skills. He had the know-how. He had the boardroom conversation. He knew the right people to put me in front of in order for me to learn that. And I think as I've started mentoring, he retired about 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago, fully from all things. So he retired from the job earlier, but then finally retired from really anything other than kayaking with his grandkids. So he really pushed me to say, if this really did help you as much as we talk about, then you have to give it back. Like you have to.
Yeah.
It's a responsibility that he built in me that was like, one day someone's gonna ask you to mentor them and you're gonna say yes. And I
Yeah.
was like, I got nothing to tell nobody. Like, I just learned this. Like I'm not good enough to help someone else along yet. And
But
then
yeah, but that's the yet part,
uh-huh.
right? Right.
Exactly, the big yet. I had a woman in the channel or a girl or whatever you wanna call her, come up to me at an event. We both were wearing the matching set, so she had the green pants, I had the green blazer on, and she, like, was like, "I'd love to schedule time and talk with you," and then she just point blank asked me, "Will you be my mentor?" And I was like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I could figure it out," right? It pushed me into the way it impacted me was so strong that I'm like, if I could even do a glimpse of what my mentors in my life have done for me, then I think I have something to stand on and really help people along as they figure out who they are as a person, who they are as a marketer or as a sales leader, who they are and how they want to show up more than anything.
I think there's such a beauty in hindsight and being in your career long enough to see patterns start emerging
Yeah,
and seeing I wish I had seen that form of mentorship for you. I wish we'd been friends our whole
forever.
lives for a lot of reasons, but
Me too.
to see that, to see you being mentored and then now turning that
Yeah,
around and mentoring, and now we get the privilege of seeing those young professionals that you are mentoring now start mentoring others.
I know.
And so it just becomes this, I believe so firmly in that there's only so much that we can learn from the books that we, have to buy in our college courses,
Exactly.
especially when you come into a channel like Dynamics and there's so much culture that's happening.
There's so many jargons, there's so many
Oh,
acronyms, there's so many people.
mhm.
It's such a hard learning curve,
Yeah,
especially when you walk into it, no regardless of age, regardless of what point you are in your career.
yeah,
You're walking into something already really solidified.
yeah,
So it's pretty difficult to navigate, in my opinion, and I was blessed to not have that difficulty.
yeah. What a fortunate thing, and bravo to you for doing that, for continuing on that truly that purpose, that legacy of
Mhm.
looking, you know, beside you and who's coming up next and how can you help,
Yeah.
and, can't wait to see both of the young professionals that you have mentored
Yeah.
turn around and mentor other people. It's gonna be
Yeah.
like, "That's our girl. That's our boy for
Yeah.
the moment,"
I
right?
know, I know, I know. There's one in process right now who's helping a couple people with some programs, and it, like, gives me so much joy, like, I won't cry about it, but I have.
Right.
That it's like, somebody said something at some women in tech thing early, early in my career. It was like a startup week here in Columbus, and the lady said, "Just because you took the elevator to get there doesn't mean you shouldn't take it back down and add somebody
Right.
into the bus," right? Like, just
Yeah.
because you got there quickly doesn't mean, like, everyone can. Some people are climbing the stairs to the 30th floor, you got an elevator,
Yeah.
but what you do with that elevator is what makes your legacy, and for me, it's like, yeah, I could just hang out up here and only have friends who are exactly in my marketing peer group who do exactly what I do,
Yeah.
but then my world is really limited, and also my path can help somebody else on their path if I just remember to turn around and help somebody up, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So we talked
Mhm.
about hindsight a little bit and seeing these patterns
Yeah.
emerge and seeing now looking back, you you have answers, right? So
Mhm.
where you are now, what were some of the early signs, early cues that you were meant to teach and to guide other people?
Yeah, so in high school, you and I have talked about this before. I took my study halls and did our art class like 8th grade students when I was a junior and senior. I was helping them in all their projects and being like a TA. I actually was planning on going to school for art education and then decided I wanted to be a full-blown artist and then ended up here. So the journey really was wacky, and it's a long story, but that was kind of my first time where I was like, it brings me joy to show people how to do something or walk them through doing it their own way even.
Wow.
But then my very first kind of speaking engagement in the channel was also through same mentor introduced me to a man in the channel here who owns a marketing agency with a friend, and he put me on a panel. He said, it'd be great if you could come speak on this panel. And I'm like, I don't know what to talk about. Why would anybody trust me? And then circle to the next year where I submitted my own sessions and they got approved, and I was so nervous and freaked out. um, but in those exact moments, I remember looking around the room and having people take notes and having people take photos of the slides and ask really intelligent questions and build this conversation in the room with the people that were there. And it really brought me a lot of joy to see that my insights were impactful to other marketers or to people who were like the business owner trying to do everything. Like, how can they make an impact? That really has been cool for me to be a part of. And that was about 4 years ago that happened.
Yeah.
And then it just really took off. I started submitting kind of for every event that I go to, big or small, around topics that I think are really critical and pivotal to marketing in the day and in moment that we're in. Um, Sometimes they don't get approved because sometimes they're a little too far out, right?
Yeah.
Some of the stuff we're putting together, like you and I submitted a session called "Community is the New Funnel," and I think that's too beyond, right? Like
Yeah.
we're thinking of stuff that we're doing in our day job that we don't even realize is that growth motion.
Yeah.
So having to kind of peel back and do kind of what you said in the beginning with my AI sessions were really like, let's start from ground zero. Here's how to open this and use it so it doesn't freak you out, right? I'm a big proponent of crawl, walk, run when it comes to learning and teaching, and some audiences really do need to crawl. And learning that's been really fun too.
Yeah. So I think I've shared this with you before, but when I was in high school,
Mhm.
my I want to say it was my sophomore, junior, and half of my senior year. I would skip my lunch period. I
Yep.
would go to my art room and I would help my art teacher teach other classes. Um,
Yep.
I set out on my original career path to be an art curator. So I started out as an art history major. Um,
Mhm.
restoring and preserving old paintings and I
So
mean
cool.
my dad is a brilliant artist and I grew up with, art was a part of our conversations. Like my dad would teach
Same.
me art like life lessons through artists and their stories. So
That's beautiful.
when I went to college, I was I was a art history major with the intention of becoming an art curator, and then got married, moved to Florida, had to transfer colleges, and my college did not have an art history major program, which is,
Mm,
yeah, I was like, what am I supposed to do now? So, every
exactly.
career aptitude test I'd ever taken was like, public relations, marketing is for you.
Yep.
And it was right. I don't know that while I love art, I also don't think that you should have a career in your passion, which is
Yes.
probably another podcast for another day for us. I think you should have a career that's in your talent and that
Agreed.
aligns with your purpose. And art is my passion. Um,
Yep.
so, that lends to I could have ended up in a role that was so not meant for me. And that wouldn't have been aligned with my purpose. My purpose.
Yeah.
I know my purpose. I'm a community builder and a connector.
Yep. Yep.
Um, that would not have aligned with what I believe I am here to do. And that is my professional world. My personal world, of course, is my children and creating a legacy
Sure.
with my kids. So kind of in that light, let's talk about misalignment.
Yeah.
Yeah, safe, brave space, Sam. Let's talk
Right. Safe
about
brave space.
here
Here it
we
is.
go.
A lot
Yeah.
of you got a front row seat to my brave space in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I think I say it's like about 18 months or 2 years of misalignment in big ways when it came to work and life for me. Um, I actually worked at a company that I started getting all these speaking sessions, and they told me I couldn't do them because I was doing too much of them and not enough talking about their product in my
Yeah.
speaking sessions. And I actually quit the job. I was at a
I remember
Microsoft event,
that.
and I was in Denver, and I said, "I'm gonna call and I'm gonna quit today."
Yeah.
And I remember feeling such a sense of freedom, even though it was chaotic, to be like, if you don't want me to do what gives me the most joy in my life and what makes me feel most grounded in why I'm here on this planet, I can't do it every single day. I can't do a list of tasks in Asana and not be able to go out and educate the masses or even the two people that show up to the session. Even that gives me so much acceleration and joy and fire that I'm like, I can't stay put here. So I quit when I got back to work on Monday, after this event, and they asked me to stay for a month to close out some things, which was fine because I didn't have anything planned. So I was
Right.
like, perfect. Worked for myself for a little bit. That was big misalignment. Everyone who knows me knows I'm like, I love entrepreneurial spirit. But I hate the organizational part of it all. Like, keeping all those ducks in a row, I'm not your girl. I'm not. You can't give me a list of tasks and expect me to do them and expect me to be happy. There's gotta be gray space in my job, in my day. So, that was tough. Oftentimes, another misalignment for me was, since I'm such a channel person and I'm such a relational person, I talk to everybody, I know kind of the pulse on the room. Because I am listening to the background. I am oftentimes paying attention to the conversations 2 tables away from me, and not in a creepy way, but, like, I usually am pretty plugged into what's going on in the Microsoft ecosystem specifically. So it got me into a lot of partner marketing roles. Those are very misaligned for me. The role itself is an amazing role for someone, like I said, who likes a checklist and then some gray.
Yeah.
Those are great for that, but it taught me a lot about how to say this isn't right and how to really come into my own power. So through the series of those 18 months of trying stuff that didn't stick and trying things that didn't work, the real undertone of the whole thing is that I was not living to my purpose and also generating revenue and value.
Yeah.
And I'm like, in order to work as a marketer, you got to generate some leads and some pipeline.
Yeah.
Um, and in order to be fulfilled on my side, I had to educate and train and mentor. So that's how Ambush on Air actually started. I was bored to death in my day job of not being challenged, of not being pushed further. So I pushed myself and then brought other people on to chit chat with me about those experiences.
Yeah, and it's brilliant. I mean, It is those emerging conversations because you are such a future thinker. So you're often pushing us around you,
Mhm.
your marketing circle to look at don't get too comfortable with where you are right now because something different is coming.
Yep.
And you've said some things before, and I just shot my eyes over at you, and you knew immediately,
Uh-huh.
oh, you're thinking about that too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think, Sam, I think for some people, for a lot of people, purpose uh, isn't a moment. It isn't,
Mhm.
like, "Oh, right, this is what I'm supposed to be doing." It's a slow realization of
Yeah.
trying tons of different things,
Mhm.
assuming, in your mind, you think, "Surely this is gonna work. This checks all the boxes," and then you get into
Yeah.
it, and you realize that maybe it wasn't. So, how for you now, you're
Mhm.
CMO of Duop, how do you know that the work is aligned right to who you are?
Yeah, yeah. I think with Duop, I'm in a really cool culture of work. It's a Finnish-based company. Everyone's very direct and very, very open to test and learn, which is something I've had less of in my career. I'm in a place of immense trust where it's I'm the expert in my thing and you're the expert in yours, so let's go off in our directions and go running. Um, and even in just our quick little calls, even one today, we were talking about how one of our competitors wrote an entire blog about 12 competitors that you should pick instead of us. And they got a couple things wrong in it, which is funny. So we're talking through it, and I was explaining what I'm gonna do as kind of a competitive campaign, and everyone is dialed in and listening, and they're caring because I'm explaining instead of just doing. And I think that's the culture of work I've really been looking for, and I haven't found easily. And I think some of it comes down to size of team, size of business. I've worked in every size. This company's 25 people ish, and then I've worked up to like 2,000. So I've been well pre Microsoft days, hundreds of thousands, but that's a story for another day as well. But in my marketing life, and I think getting down to a core group of coworkers who want to elevate themselves, but also how we show up is has been really pivotal to me here at Do Up.
I think that purpose can look a lot of different ways. I said for myself, I know that I'm a community builder. I know that I'm a connector. Some
Mhm.
people are builders. They're building companies, they're building processes, they're building product.
Mhm.
Some people like to mentor quietly behind
Mhm.
the scenes. So there's lots of different ways. And trust me, the blog of all blogs is coming from this episode in the different ways that we can show up in our
Mhm.
purpose. But if once you've found your purpose, how do you live it day in, day out?
Yeah. I think for me, it is subtle reminders or loud reminders in my life of doing it. Like I have my brand builder award over here that I got from doing
Yeah,
all of this work in the channel,
yeah.
or I have like a list of all of the topics I want to train on and just always iterating with what I hear. But my favorite way to kind of live it day to day is on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn is where I usually find all of my topics for either my blog or for Ambush on Air. And then even for submitting speaking sessions, because I'm listening to the pulse of what people are asking questions about or topics they care about, or comments they make on other people's posts. Like I'm having a podcast with somebody who did a whole thing about how you show up in a sales demo and the company has a 30-slide deck and then the demo. That we don't care about the deck, we want the demo, right? Like, just show me the demo.
They're exhausted before
Um,
they even get to the demo. Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, that's how I kind of live it day to day is investing in the time that it takes me to kind of peruse what's going on and mainly on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And then I surround myself with people who also do it. It can be a really, really, really inspiring thing to sit at a table at an event with a bunch of other people who do the same thing in a different font, right? My friends all do some version of this in some capacity. And it's really energizing to be around and to remember that even though one of them's talking about, change management, the other one's talking about how to implement a process as business central, and I'm talking about ABM and you're talking about building a brand, it's still really, really empowering to have a seat at the table with people who have the same fire for education and making this channel elevated, and making this channel more than just a bunch of people who work for Microsoft products.
And and to that, I think once you've figured out your purpose, you can't help but live it. It becomes ingrained in whatever job
Yes.
you're doing. I saw my former boss a couple of nights ago, and we just wanted to catch up. He has some big changes in his life, and um,
So
he was
nice.
like, "What are you doing? Like, I see you on LinkedIn. You're doing all these things. What are you
Mhm.
doing?" And I was like, "I'm just connecting dots." Like, I'm
Yep.
a professional dot connector. And he was like, "You've always
You are.
done that.
Mhm.
You've always like 10, 15 years ago working at the marketing agency, that is what I'm doing." And that is
Yeah.
how I know it's a constant thread everywhere I'm going. That's how I know that's my purpose.
Yeah.
Even in my wedding photography days, that's what I was doing. I have a conversation, be like, "Oh,
You
you
should.
need to meet this
Mhm.
person. This person can
Mhm.
help you with that." Or, "You have got to have this person in your life." Or even, "You've got to read this book."
Yep.
It
Yep.
might not always be people, but just connecting. I'm a connector. So
Yep.
I think once you've found that purpose, whatever that is, and I have a whole list of them. I did, I've
Mhm.
asked, I've like done kind of research and reading on this.
Yeah.
If you're empathetic, like look at my boss. He's the most
Mhm.
empathetic person. We're in payments. How can that show up? It shows up in his leadership
Every day.
every
Mhm.
day. It shows up in the way that he presents, in
Yeah.
the side projects he takes on. And you're really fortunate if you can find a job that, or a boss, or, you know, leadership that sees that in you. And to
Yeah.
your point, Sam, you had to leave a company because they said, "You can't do that on our time."
Yeah.
That you're underserved in, if that's the case.
Yeah.
Because that's the most important thing, and that is what keeps you inspired and pushing forward to feel like, and know at the end of
Yeah.
the day, know that you're making a difference
Exactly.
in
Exactly.
whatever that purpose is. So, what advice would you give to someone? Finding purpose isn't always easy. What advice
Mhm.
would you give to someone who may feel lost in finding their
Yeah.
purpose?
Yeah. A couple of things. So, what really did it for me was I was beating my head up against the wall for a year of I'm not growing, I'm not learning, I'm not teaching, I'm not none of it, right? But what it really took was me slowing down and doing nothing for a month. And I know that sounds crazy, but even just do your regular job during the day and then in the evenings, really, really think about moments in your life, not just in your current day to day, but like moments in your entire life where you've felt the most happy or joyful or seen the most of your spirit come out and reflect on what you were doing in those moments. Like I went back and was thinking, when I was a teenager and what was so cool about my life then and what was awesome in college that was great for me and my career pivot and all of that stuff. Like in those moments, what was I actually doing? And reflect on
Yeah.
the actions and activities you were doing during that time. Um I also think we all have a purpose and you just need to uncover it inside yourself. And you need to, if you are feeling lost or unaligned or like you're just going through your day, I encourage you to really sit down and think about yourself. Think about um, the highs and lows of your life and write them down. Write them down. Like, even I did a blog at the end of last year that was like, I had a real crappy year, y'all. But here's some of the things that were great and on that list, there's 3 of the 20 that were about speaking sessions for me and about mentorship. And I'm like, that's an easy thread for you to pull out and say, these are common denominators in what brings me the most joy, and it's likely your purpose.
Yeah. I woke up this morning with these two questions in mind, and
Mhm.
I'm going to ask you the questions, but I also think if someone does feel lost,
Mhm.
asking themselves these questions can
Yeah.
help at least get your feet pointed in. And so much of it is self-discovery, right? And
So much.
I will say it's okay if it changes too, because you are changing. You are
Exactly.
evolving, right? So the first question that I literally 5:30 this morning, Sam, I texted you at 5:30 this
Sure
morning.
did. Sure did.
And I said, I have an idea, and this is where I think we can go with this episode. And I have these questions. And the first question is, when you think about the impact you want to leave in, I'll say in this ecosystem, but really
Mhm.
anywhere, what does that look like?
Yeah. Yeah. The word that always comes to mind for me is actually 2 words, really. I want you to feel ambushed by my alternative ideas and opinions. I want you to really think outside of the box when it comes to
Yeah.
pipeline and funnel and community and partnerships, like really think outside of that. And then the other one is my life in general. On my little tombstone, I wanted to say she was always helping something. She
Mm,
was always a helper. Like the word helper has always been in my mind viewed negatively. For a lot of reasons growing up was like, if I'm helping all these people, then I'm not helping myself. And I've had to reflect on what it means to how much help you offer others versus yourself.
yeah.
I went through a phase and actually had a comment made to me last year that was like, what are you doing to serve yourself? Like, what are you doing to help you? You're helping everybody else, but what are you doing for you?
Yeah.
And I think those are the two like lasting impacts that I would want to make on this channel is Sam was always down to help, roll up her sleeves, and Sam was always down to tell us what we were doing wrong and how to fix it.
Yeah. Well, it's true. That's what I would say. Second question, what do you
Mhm.
hope people say about the difference that you made?
Ooh. Ooh, that's a hard one.
You don't have to
I
answer.
think no, I'm gonna. A
Okay.
couple of things. I want when you guys are at my celebration of life with bourbon and tarot cards and aura readings and all the silly fun
And
things I
bandana
love.
scarves.
Bandana scarves as always. I want you to be all sitting around laughing about all of the ways that we show up for each other and all of the things that you've learned from me exposing my secrets, my experiences, my failures, my wins. Um, and I hope that that makes you feel a sense of a lasting impact that I helped you in some way, whether it is in work or in life. That's what I really hope my legacy is.
Wow, that's really powerful. And I think um if somebody is looking for that, I don't know any young adult right now that's like, I know my purpose. Maybe there are. I mean, I have 3 young adults and they
Yep.
are figuring out their purpose and what they want their impression to be outside of the work that they do, right?
Yep.
That's not your purpose can't just be the work that you
Job.
yes,
Mhm.
your job. It can be a great job. I love my job, but my
Yep.
job is not my purpose. So,
Yep.
I think for somebody and again, when I asked my AI, like, how many books have been written about purpose, it's like
Everyone's searching for it.
yeah, it's countless. It is like the number one topic in the self-help genre is
Mhm.
finding purpose. I've read several on finding
Same.
purpose.
Same.
Um,
I've cried into multiple.
right. And I think once you find it and you are aligned in it, to back to your point, Sam, when you're not, it's so uncomfy.
It
And
sucks.
that's when you know. And I
Uh-huh.
had a Coffee Talk quote a couple of weeks ago that says, "Your purpose is not what happens in you, it's what happens in other people when you are living in your purpose."
Exactly.
So, when you can look around and see that impact, whether small, large, whatever size your circle is, living in your purpose is you see and feel the ripple and in the impact. You have any like closing, any other piece of advice that you want to give?
No, I think my like final or like recap would be, if you don't know what your purpose is, sit down and really think about the wins that you have in your life. What are the moments that piqued the most joy and laughter for you? Write them down. Write down the ones that were the worst and then compare what they have in common or non-common in that case. And then surround yourself with people who are doing that thing, who are living that way. Um, and you'll be amazed to see how you rise to the occasion when you're surrounded by people who are already doing it. Um, when you're around people who know why they're here and what they want to do from a lasting impact, it makes a positive impact on you just from being around them. And I really encourage you to find people in your circle that give that to you.
Wow, Sam, thank you so much for opening up, for sharing your early stories of finding your purpose, of your misalignment, and being really honest with yourself and settling into where settling into your purpose because everyone around you
Yeah.
benefits from that. So thank you for opening up and
Thank
sharing
you.
with me today. If
Yeah, it
today's
was fun.
it was great fun. We did it.
We did it.
We did it. I mean, we have many podcasts every day through audio messages.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
I knew that this wouldn't be a stretch for either one of us.
Not at all.
Yeah. Sam, thank you for being my friend. Thank you for
Thank you for
sharing.
being mine.
Thank you for sharing, live, laugh, love with me.
Always
Did
living,
I
laughing,
just
loving
say that?
in these conditions.
Oh,
But
it's
we
good.
do.
Yeah.
And I love it. I
Yeah.
love it.
If today's conversation resonated with you, take 5 minutes, answer some of the questions that I've posed, that Sam has posed. Ask yourself, when do you feel most alive in your work, in your life? Because very often that's where your purpose is living. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next time on Coffee Talk. Thank you for joining us today on Coffee Talk. A special thanks to my guests for sharing their story and to you, the listener, for being a part of this conversation. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a Monday morning chat. Until next time, I'm Kate Coffey Bacon, and this has been Coffee Talk.